Hi Trojans, as my final video for the 2020-2021 school year, I thought, I was inspired by Sherilyn Johnston, a Tech Excellence Highs video about the things to carry over for next year, things that tech tools that she wants to carry over into in-person learning more for the 2021-2022 school year. And so I kind of wanted to create my own video about the things that I'm taking with me and that I want to continue on and just reflect on my own teaching this year. Um, with that said, this has been, I think everybody says it, so I don't know if I would necessarily want to say it again because it's the obvious statement of the year, but this has been an incredible year. We have done so much, and I hope we don't have to go at the same speed that we did this year again or have to reinvent the world wheel as much as we did this year. But as much as we are ready to be off of Google Meet and as we're ready to just kind of shut our computers down for the summer, I do want us to kind of reflect on what tech tools really helped with their students and that the things that we really definitely want to kind of make sure that we're staying organized, or that the things that did help our students and what we can carry over into next year and to help with their learning. So this video is about the things that I am going to be using next year, the things that I really found useful for this year, or things that I might have used in person too, but I really kind of honed in on this year, and the things that I really want to continue with and to expand on as we move into the 2021-2022 school year. So one of the things that I definitely want to keep for next year is my Google Classroom organization. I thought I was organized before we went into distance learning, and then this year has really forced me to really rethink what organization looks like. So to give you an idea of what it looked like beforehand for me, this was from my class last year, so the class of 2019-2020. So as you can see on distance learning, I started breaking down by weeks, but before that, all of my topics were whatever we were covering. So Unit 1, templates, independent reading, all of those things. And um, with that, I would also do unit agendas. So for the entire unit, I would have the daily agendas just on these slides. Now, this worked pretty well, but one thing that my students were constantly asking is they didn't quite know which one was Unit 2 or Unit 1, and they didn't really quite pay attention to that. And so it was harder for them to find materials, even though for me, and they really just looked at it, it was pretty well organized. So this year, one thing that I did with organization is separated out by weeks. And this seemed to work a lot better for my students personally. The units I might go back to eventually, but this breaking down by the weeks worked so well this year for my classes. And the other thing that I did this year is I started color coding and marking the slides by day. So all of the materials, not just the daily agendas, but every slides that we need for that day were included on the daily slides. So this was like the instructions, this was everything included in the day. And that's something I'm definitely going to keep forward next year, is just breaking down by the days, and then keeping the color coded assignments so that, like on Wednesday, we worked on the elements of community project notebook. And this seemed to work a lot better with my students. I got a lot less questions about where's this material, or where am I supposed to be doing this, or what did I miss today? I just got a lot less questions about it. And so I definitely want to kind of keep that organization for this year, or for the next year, whatever that looks like. The next thing I want to keep going into next year is looking, or just the collaborative boards. So using things like Padlet and Jamboard to have my students all collaborate and work together and get feedback all in one place. I loved the use of Padlet for community projects, so students can give feedback directly onto assignments, as they're viewing their peers. I also did this with our current events. So every Monday for our asynchronous time, students found an article and summarized and had to do their current event works and their digital media literacy work. And they could be able to look and view at each other's work right on this Padlet to kind of really open up their audience, not just to me. And then of course Jamboard was really helpful to be able to do collaborative things. So we had some fun in advisory by doing a would you rather activity and making collaborative drawings as well. It's taking a little while to load. But being able to have these collaborative works, and then even also to do it with collaborative drawings just as for fun, and then also looking at using commentary. So after they read something, being able to post directly or being able to have a group discussion and posting their thoughts on a group slide deck here. It was just, this is something that really like I kind of want to stick with. One thing I want to kind of expand this more is Cami can actually do a lot of these things too. So having just a whole class whiteboard or a group whiteboard made in Cami, I want to do a little bit more of next year. But this is something that I definitely want to keep around. Expanding on this further as well, one thing that I want to do and not lose is the chat feature. So I really liked the chat feature, especially as the beginning question, having everybody kind of answer just a quick, easy question or doing something in the chat, like whatever their check-in question was or whatever we were doing as our beginning question. And so I want to expand on that. And so instead of using like the Zoom chat, because hopefully we won't be using it next year, having kind of a back channel to start the class with, and using a couple more of these features in in Padlet that I didn't use quite so often. But this back channel feature I really want to use to kind of create that chat-like environment and maybe have that up and running in the class so that students can still respond or they can still put their thoughts out in a chat format, for especially those students who don't quite like to speak up in the class, or might be a little more shy, especially if they haven't been in a classroom setting in over a year. So this back channel I definitely want to focus on and use more of for next year. So just these collaborative awards is something I'm keeping and that I'm going to continue to use, and expanding it further with our back channels and kind of keeping some of that chat format that I really liked in distance learning. Expanding on that chat feature a little bit more, I also really liked using the chat in GoGuardian. Even my in-person students, when they didn't quite feel comfortable asking a question in front of everybody, they really utilized this private chat feature. And so I really want to make sure that I have that up and running in my class so that those students can ask me those questions. I had it up and running in person. A lot of students used to ask to use the restroom on GoGuardian. It was an easy way to do it, but just something I definitely want to carry over into in-person learning is being able to have this chat, this kind of private chat feature. One thing that I also would like to continue that I really liked with GoGuardian is the ability to have one-on-one conversations. So thinking about ways that I can do that when you have a classroom full of 30 students, how we can still build in those one-on-one private times, like kind of more, where students can still kind of ask you something that they may not want to ask the entire class, how I can still bring in those one-on-one discussions and keep kind of that setting that I really enjoyed with distance learning, being able to try to kind of chat one-on-one with students, and they can kind of ask freely those questions or things that they might be struggling with. And so thinking about ways that I can implement that into an in-person setting. So my next thing I want to carry over is No Red Ink. And English teachers have been using this No Red Ink for a while now. We've had it purchased for a couple of years, but they've really expanded upon their offerings in No Red Ink, and this is available school-wide. So one thing that I really like about No Red Ink is their writing assignments. And so the quick writes are really quick, easy ways to get writing going, and they have featured writing skills. So like just questions that you can use and like use immediately in your class. So like soundtrack of your life. They also have a school year in review, and this changes based on what is happening. So like for the January 6th like events that happened, they had articles so that students can kind of access that information and that you could actually use it to like talk about it and discuss it in your classroom. So I really like No Reading's choices for their quick writes. And it's also like you can choose it by skill, you can choose it by theme or genre, you can have just for fun or bell ringer. So there's lots of different things that you can use it with. And a lot of it is just they have articles or short stories or poems already tied to questions. And questions can be a lot of different things. So you can kind of pick and choose which one works best for your classroom. So this isn't just for English department. Anybody can use this. So please let me know if you want to use No Writing in the future. So I'd be happy to come to your PLCs or one-on-one with you. The other really cool thing about No Writing and their writing particularly that I like is this guided draft. So students, you can assign an essay or use one of their prompts already, and it will guide students through it. So If I want them to write an argumentative essay, I can like assign them this argumentative essay, and then it will actually guide them through how to do this essay. So first they have to take a tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and just skip it, but going through this tutorial here about what an argumentative essay is, looking at the rubrics that you can pick and choose what you want on that rubric, and then it will guide you through. So what is the title? So as they're writing, they get helpful things. So for the introduction, helpful things for the hook, bridge, and thesis statement. As they do a body paragraph, the topic, evidence, and reasoning through here. So guided drafts are really, really cool with that. And then to expand on that, you can also do peer reviews. So this is anonymous peer reviews that you can assign. Have them focus on one specific thing, so they don't have to look at the entire thing. They can just look at one specific piece of it, and then they get feedback and ratings, like really specific evidence and ratings based on what their peer feedback is. So this is something I want to definitely carry over using into next year and to help my students with their writing skills. And this was a really easy way to do that. And you don't have to be a writing teacher to do this. Everything is kind of help right there for us. You can customize it as you need to, but it's just a really neat tool that we have. So another like must-have for me next year is Cami. I love Cami. I know a lot of you guys love Cami too, but just the ease in which you can do things, and like especially like if I just go to Cami, I have an instant whiteboard that I can have students do and have this new blank page. So just a lot of potential with Cami. One thing that I really liked about it is being able to give audio instructions or video instructions directly on this. So especially like asynchronous Mondays, or just kind of clarifying some stuff, just being able to do like a quick couple-second video to explain what I wanted from each page was really helpful to me to be able to kind of give those instructions and have students be able to like kind of respond to them. And of course, with students being able to have many options, so being able to have students do the audio responses, or being able to do voice comments or video comments or even a screen capture, as just different ways of like incorporating their thoughts or different ways of them, demonstrating their knowledge with it. In addition to all the other features of Cami, such as the drawing tools and the text to speech or the dictionary tools, everything that's just included in Cami, it just makes it really awesome. And then also when you're creating those, if I wanted to create those like voice comments or the audio comments, I don't have to go to Google Classroom in order to assign it. I can assign it directly there if I need to, or I can assign it in Google Classroom. So I can go to Google Classroom directly and be able to assign work directly that way too. So Cami makes it super easy. And then of course, like talking about Google Classroom, looking at grading with Cami. So when I assign a Cami assignment, being able to grade and have all of the same tools right there was really, really awesome. So I can just leave voice comments back, or even, leave stickers if I wanted to. And one other thing that I would like to keep around for next year is the use of these digital notebooks. So I got this digital notebook just as a template off of Slides Mania. And what I really liked about these digital notebooks is, for one, it really kind of reinforced like the bell ringers and things that I think in my in-person teaching I was kind of getting away from. But it also kind of allowed me to kind of slow down and check in with students and give them a space to write down their thoughts. And so we always started with like our quote of the week, and then we had different activities. So like this, we just made a space to kind of get our week together, kind of figure out and prioritize our time management skills, thinking about current events. So we would always kind of look at our current events. Usually we did these on Tuesday, but this week we did them on a Wednesday. Kind of checking in and reflecting on the quote of the week with different questions. And then almost every day I had a closure so that they went back to and kind of reflected on their learning for that day, for that class. And then I do teach Avid this year, so having them reflect on their learning in all of their classes and doing grade checks and homework checks. But the most important part for me that didn't quite get used a lot, but it did in some aspects, was just giving them the space to write their notes. So is there anything that you'd like me to know? And honestly, most of the time, this was really positive. Some students shared some TikToks or songs that they had been listening to that week. Some students shared, they're just thanking me or telling me to have a good weekend. But every once in a while, I would get a student that would share something that, like, hey, like my mom's been sick this week, or I have this going on in my life right now. This was an optional, so a lot of times students didn't write anything, but I thought it was really important, and I'm really glad that I gave the space for them to write this. And then I would check it every week. And this is something that I definitely want to continue on when we have our in-person. Is this was a really good space for me, and I felt like it was a good space for the students too. So being able to have these digital notebooks, just right there, just something that we did consistently every day and every week, so they know they had to turn it in, and just giving them space to reflect and to kind of really think about what they're learning, and to kind of, giving them that safe space to write down anything that they may need to share with me, or just letting me know, like I said, most of the time, if they did share, it was something positive and something funny, and it definitely helped brighten my week as well. So for my last thing that I'm going to carry into next year, and as much as I talk about technology, and that is my role and my focus, the ed tech here, I really want to make sure that I am carrying over that SEL learning and those SEL components. So giving students space to have fun, building in more playtime, whether it's just doing fun Kahoots. I started doing Kahoots every month, just finding like random trivias about the month that we are entering into. So the first of the month, we always played a Kahoot about that. Giving them time just to like collaborate with each other, even if it's as simple as like create a drawing together, or giving them spaces to talk to one another. I really want to make sure that I'm focusing in on that type of learning. And so making sure that I am connecting with the students one-on-one. I think it's really easy when we go in person to not connect with the students in the same way. Um, or making sure that we're not specifically targeting students. Like, I've really tried to, like, every week, like, even if it was just in chat and GoGuardian, be like, hey, how's it going? And I think it's really easy when we're in person to just rely that since we are in person, that we are connecting with every student. And I think that sometimes that's not the case. So making sure and making a point to connect to every single student. So keeping in those like check-ins on GoGuardian. It could be as simple as just writing a chat on GoGuardian and being like, hey, how are you doing today? Or making sure I have like stations going around so that I can check in with students, or as they're independently working, having one-on-one conversations with students. So I definitely want to make sure that I don't lose focus on making sure I'm checking on each student individually, as we move into in-person learning or whatever next year looks like. So that is, to me, one of the most important things that I want to make sure that I carry over. That curriculum has a place and purpose. We definitely need to make sure students are getting the skill sets, but that as we're moving back in person, as students, as we are recovering from the trauma of this year, that we are not losing sight of those one-on-one check-ins, looking at each student individually. All right, so this video might look a little different than the rest of the video just because Loom, for whatever reason, stopped working on me, so had to switch over to Screencastify. And if anything has taught me this year, is to be prepared for anything and to be adaptable and just kind of take a deep breath in and let it go and just not stress out about too much. So I think that's another thing that I want to carry next year, is just that adaptability and just kind of ready to wing it and go on the fly if I need to. But I really think that one of the best things that we can do this year is just to make sure that we're collaborating with each other and to continue to work with our PLCs and continue to work with each other. And I definitely would like you guys, I appreciate everybody who emailed me or shared with me ideas, or asked me questions, or I really love hearing from you guys. So as we go into next year, I hope we can continue that collaborative spirit and tell me the things that worked for you and didn't work for you, and share your ideas, because I really would love to hear all of it. So I hope you guys have a great summer. Rest and relax as much as you can. And have a great year, children.